All right, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is just how to put the system away. And that consists, number one, of shutting it down, disconnecting, and then also finally getting all the components put away properly, and then sliding the system back where it needs to reside for storage in between use. Okay. As part of your shutdown procedure, also make sure that there are no DVDs still residing inside the DVD player. If you do locate a DVD, go ahead and turn it into the security office at the end of the evening. Also notice that we keep several copies of the preset Zoom locations sheet here in the system. If there are no sheets left or there's only one or two left, please make a point of printing out some additional ones that can be placed in there later. So let's start off first with just powering the system down. That's generally the best thing to do first. We want to make sure that, number one, we'll grab our remote and just make sure that our connection is actually hung up, which in this case it is. If it's not hung up, all we got to do is hit the hang up button on the remote, and that stops the connection. Now, to power the Polycom system down, what you'll want to do is come down to the power button for the Polycom system. To power the Polycom system down, come down to that power button and hold it until it turns blue. The system is now turned off. And then finally, once you've turned off the monitors as well as the conferencing system itself, now you can power down the entire system just by hitting the power button right there. Now we know the complete system has been powered off. Okay, so our next step is to go ahead and start getting all the components brought back together. That means bringing in the network cable, it means bringing in the microphones, and it means bringing in the laptop computer whip that come to the system as well. We'll bring all those things together right now. Now again, remember, we're disconnecting the Ethernet cable from the white plug. And now we'll go ahead and just start collecting up the cable neatly. And now we'll go ahead and collect up the whip that attaches to the laptop computer. And we just want to make sure this is residing neatly on top of the unit like so, right next to the network cable. All right, and next we want to make sure that the microphones are brought in. Now, one of the things to point out about the microphones is the cabling is pretty long and it tends to get cluttered up pretty easily. So I do have some suggestions for how you can deal with some of that clutter with the cables. What I'll typically do is I'll separate the microphones from one another. I'll take the microphone that's at the very end of the line and I'll follow the cable connecting it to the next microphone, and I'll just disconnect it on back. And it disconnects just like a regular telephone. But if you disconnect that there, then what that'll allow you to do is keep this cable wound up with that microphone and this cable wound up with this microphone. And it just makes untangling and so forth a lot less of an issue. Okay, so once that's done, you can go ahead and be very careful with this wire, but then just go ahead and do it like so, just in a loose loop. All right, so that one's done. And then do a similar thing with the second one, but watch what I do here. We have a spool that we actually keep the microphone cable on, and while it's probably still not a perfect solution for keeping our wire managed, one thing I want to point out to you is it'll allow you to go ahead and spool up the wire for this microphone in a way that it doesn't get tangled. Okay, so you'll see this microphone has about 5 feet between the spool itself, okay, where it comes out of the spool, and the microphone itself. So what I'll usually do is go ahead and just wind the microphone around the spool like that. Okay, so now that's all wound up. Then I'll come to the other side of the spool where the the portion of the cable that runs into the Polycom system is located, the video conferencing system. And I'll just wind it up there and then tuck it neatly underneath the system. And notice I've also got that first bit that I wound up. Okay. Now, last but not least, you also want to make sure that all of your remotes are collected. And there should be up to 3 remotes that you've got to manage: your TV remote, your DVD remote, and your Polycom remote. And we'll go ahead and just put those in the drawer down here. Also, don't forget, before we actually roll this system away, we want to make sure that the power cable is unplugged from the wall and also neatly coiled up and placed on the countertop of the video conferencing system. Now, to keep things as simple as possible, what we want to try to do is roll the conferencing system over in a corner that's probably like 5 or 6 feet away from where it normally resides. So what we'll do is get over here and roll this card over and put it in the position we want it to be in. This is how the system should look when you finished putting it away. Cables neatly rolled up on the countertop, and the system itself pushed up against the wall at a slight angle, not flat up against the wall and not inserted into the opening there, but at a slight angle. This is for aesthetic reasons. It's more attractive visually to come into the room and see the system from the front, more or less, no matter where you are in the room, rather than seeing the system from a sideways view, being able to see the backs of the monitors and such. So please be sure when you're putting the system away to go ahead and emulate this and keep the system at a slight angle when it's put away in the room. Besides that, if you have any questions, get in touch with me. You'll see my contact information right here on the screen, and I'll be able to provide you with any further assistance that you need. Take care.